The most wonderful time of the baseball year is here. As we embark upon a wide open October, let's take a look at what you need to know about each team vying for the World Series crown in 2025. We'll start with the Dodgers, because at the start of the year, the widely held assumption was that this heavily stacked squad coming off a 2024 title would be unbeatable. It didn't exactly work out that way in the regular season. Though LA did wind up winning the NL West for the 12th time in the last 13 years, it didn't coast to that crown, dealing with injuries to the rotation, a slow start for Mookie Betts, and a beleaguered bullpen. But the Dodgers starting staff came together as advertised down the stretch and is in a much better position than the group that won it all a year ago. And with Mookie playing like Mookie again, Shohei Ohtani thriving in his two-way role, and the Dodgers loaded with October experience, the Dodgers have a real shot at becoming the first repeat champs since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees. The Yankees themselves are trying to avenge their World Series loss to the Dodgers last year. And despite the challenge posed by losing Juan Soto in free agency, here they are again, with a power-packed lineup led by one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time in Aaron Judge, and bolstered by the offseason addition of Cody Bellinger, a breakthrough year for Trent Grisham, and the great strides made by Ben Rice. The Bronx Bombers can still bang with the best of them. They are a major threat to turn games around with a ball over the fence at any point. And though losing Garrett Cole to Tommy John surgery was as big a blow as losing Soto, off-season acquisition Max Fried stepped into those ace shoes to lead a rotation that was among the best in baseball in the season's second half. The Yankees still have what it takes to advance in a wide-open American League. When the Yankees last won the World Series in 2009, it came at the expense of the then-defending champion Phillies. And all these years later, the Phils are still searching for that first World Series crown since 2008. This organization has moved heaven and earth and a ton of money to try to get it done, assembling a loaded lineup anchored by the power and pedigree of Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. The Phillies have endured their second-half challenges, losing ace Zach Wheeler for the rest of the season and also navigating a late-season injury to an igniter in Trey Turner. But the rotation currently fronted by Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez is still a force. And in a sport in which the value of home field advantage can sometimes be overstated, there is no October environment quite like a loud and raucous Citizens Bank Park. Speaking of great October environments, imagine what it'll be like when the Mariners take the field at T-Mobile Park. The M's just claimed the AL West for the first time since 2001. And though they did advance to October for the first time in a generation in 2022, they had just a single postseason home game to show for it, getting swept by the rival Astros. This year, the Mariners outlasted the Stros, thanks in no small part to catcher Cal Raleigh's jaw-dropping campaign. The home run derby champ was also MLB's home run champ, and he, along with Julio Rodriguez, leads a lineup that was augmented by in-season trades for Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, and also includes established October hero Randy Arozarena. And with a rotation just reaching its peak and a bullpen filled with sick stuff, the Mariners have all the goods to reach the World Series stage for the first time in franchise history. The Brewers are another team searching for a franchise first World Series title, but Milwaukee is no stranger to October. Impressively, the NL Central champs are on the October dance card for the 7th time in the last 8 seasons. They've got an old school skipper in Pat Murphy who has gotten the most out of a squad in which 33-year-old Christian Yelich is the wily veteran, and a trail of 20-somethings put the ball in play, get on base, and put pressure on their opponents. Pair that with a typically terrific Brewers pitching staff, on which staff ace Freddie Peralta is one of the most underrated arms in MLB, and it will be interesting to see if this Brewers team, which shocked the baseball world with win streaks of 11 and 14 games this season, can get hot at the right time and advance within October for the first time since Milwaukee reached the NLCS in 2018. Speaking of franchises that date back to 1969 and are still searching for their first ring, let's progress to the Padres. They're in October for the 4th time in what we'll call the A.J. Preller era, an era in which their general manager has made trade after trade after trade like it's a bodily function. To date, The furthest the Padres have gone in this era was the NLCS in 2022, but they pushed the eventual champion Dodgers to the brink in last year's NLDS, and Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, and company enter the postseason hungry to reward a fan base that has turned Petco Park into one of the best atmospheres in baseball. And after Preller made yet another go-for-it summer swap in landing ace reliever Mason Miller, this team has what looks to be the best bullpen setup of any of the postseason squads. No small thing in a tournament that has become increasingly relief-oriented. Way back when, the Padres traded a guy named Joe Carter to the Blue Jays, and he wound up hitting a pretty big home run for Toronto in the World Series. The Jays went back-to-back in 1992 and 1993, but haven't been back to the Fall Classic since. Their era of contention centered around their newly minted $500 million man, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., has been marked by underachievement. But this year, the Blue Jays seem to have broken through, shaking off a last-place finish from 2024 with the help of an offense that produces a beautiful blend of contact and power, has gotten a turn-back-the-clock season from 2017 World Series MVP George Springer, and has a deep bench. A mid-season trade for 2020 AL Cy Young winner Shane Bieber deepened the rotation for a team whose strengths might play up in the postseason. Extending Guerrero took his free agency off the table, but that's not the case with the Cubs and Kyle Tucker. Chicago surrendered a lot of talent to get 1 year of control of Tucker, and he and breakthrough star Pete Crow Armstrong proved quite a dynamic duo at the start of the season as the Cubs surged back into contention. It was a different story as the season wore on, and Tucker dealt with a slump and injuries as the Brewers took over the NL Central. This is an offense that has shown it can run hot and cold, but when it's hot, it's very hot. The Cubbies punched their ticket to the postseason in Craig Counsell's second year at the helm, which gives them their chance to bring the World Series to the North Side for the first time since that curse-breaking run in 2016. The Red Sox broke a curse of their own in 2004, then went the distance again in 2007, 2013, and 2018 to morph from a franchise that could never win it all to a franchise that couldn't stop winning it all. But with only one postseason appearance in the previous 6 years, the Fenway fans were getting restless. The Red Sox appeased them with a big offseason trade, bringing in Garrett Crochet, only to frustrate them again with a mid-season salary dump that sent Rafael Devers to San Francisco. Despite that shocking swap, the Red Sox, sparked by rookie Roman Anthony, persevered to nab a playoff spot that puts former Astros champion Alex Bregman back in October and gives the Cy Young caliber Crochet and a resurgent relief ace in Aroldis Chapman the chance to personally swing a postseason series. The Tigers have one of baseball's best aces in Tarek Skubal, who put this pitching chaos-fueled club on his back late in the 2024 season on a wild late-season run that reached the 5th game of the ALDS. But in 2025, that script was flipped, with the Tigers enduring a stunning and history-making September collapse. Still, they had done enough in the first half to earn themselves another October opportunity, another chance to end a franchise World Series title drought that dates back to 1984. With Spencer Torkelson finally living up to his first-round hype and Gleyber Torres acquired in free agency, the Tigers' lineup runs deeper than it did a year ago. A.J. Hinch has proven before that he knows how to pull the bullpen levers in October, and absolutely nobody wants to face Skubal, a candidate for his second straight Cy Young, in a short series. Cleveland enters October with the longest World Series title drought of any team in MLB, dating all the way back to 1948. That might seem a huge historical hill to climb, but tell that to a Guardians team that, as late as August 25th, was 2 games under 500 with a run differential of -59. Fueled in large measure by a rotation that kicked into gear when it counts, they went on a September run that was simply historic and even more surprising than their entry into the ALCS 1 year ago. So let's see what else this plucky, pitching, contact, and defense-oriented club, led by an increasingly clear Hall of Fame candidate in 5'8", homegrown human dynamo Jose Ramirez, can do. Maybe, to borrow a line from a famous film, they can win the whole freaking thing. The Reds aren't just trying to win their first World Series since 1990, they're trying to win their first playoff series since 1995, and their first playoff game since 2012. They brought in a guy who has sure won his share, surprisingly coaxing two-time World Series skipper Terry Francona out of retirement 1 year ago in an effort to turn around a team that had floundered the previous 4 seasons. With so much unproven talent in their Elly De La Cruz-led lineup, the Reds struggled to get real traction in Francona's first year. But their terrific young rotation, centered around Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo, kept them in games and kept them in the hunt. It could also make them a handful against other, more seasoned October squads, especially with the man we call Tito manning the switches.